So I guess my next question is, what do you feel about like his stance, really on like China, and then what? Because it's easy to, I mean, he's kind of the guy that's like supposed to be tough on China, right? But if you remember, I mean, Hong Kong got taken over when he was president. They grew at a faster rate of GDP than we did, more onshoring jobs into China. So, like, what do you think he should do differently this go around to China? And then
Um,
after that, I have your stance on the tariffs. So, but go ahead.
okay. Well, it's probably going to get wrapped into this answer. So first off, Hong Kong, I rescind my earlier statement about Vietnam. Hong Kong would be the most recent loss of Western civilization. I think the way that was handled by the US and Western allies was disgraceful, specifically Britain. Um, it's honestly turns my stomach to think about it. Like when you got people in the streets of Hong Kong waving American flags and getting steamrolled. It bothers me a lot. Um, as far as what I would do differently, this go around, I'm kind of caught between two ideologies. So again, like this strong arm, like let's put freaking B-2 bombers in the middle in the Philippines. Let's start, selling our fifth gen fighters to Australia at a discount because if anyone's going to go after China before us, it's the Aussies.
Hmm.
Uh, Forcing them out of our hemisphere under the Monroe Doctrine. So I agree with what's going on in Panama. I like it. Uh,
I agree with that. They don't have any business being in Panama.
right. And that's it's another thing too. Like, this is going to be a little bit off topic, but I guess there's like a huge number of the illegal immigrants coming across the southern border under Biden were Chinese immigrants too. There's some conspiracy stuff we won't get into, but it's pretty nutty. Um,
I wouldn't be too worried about those Chinese immigrants. I'd be more worried about the legal immigrants that are sleeping with Democratic intelligence officers.
that too.
I
That's a problem. Um, Gah. And the intellectual theft in general, like the espionage and intellectual theft is a huge problem. But again, you can't say like you can't hire Chinese migrants in specific industries because I don't know, they're Asian. People probably wouldn't call you racist. I don't know.
Yeah,
People,
yeah, I feel like they're less protected in that regard than other minorities.
yeah. Uh, Gosh, so what I would like to see different is kind of where I'm hung up on.
Well, then here, how about
I
these tariffs? Like I mean, that seems to be his weapon of choice, right?
Yeah,
Because it's really the only thing he can do without the approval of Congress, right? So,
right. Well, I mean, so he could dispatch U.S. assets to the South China Sea, which I think he's done. I think we have one of our big carriers is now patrolling there.
yeah,
Um,
but that's
it's
nothing. I mean, he's not gonna get into like an armed conflict with a nuclear power like that. I mean, that's just I'm less concerned about that. That to me is almost equivalent to nothing.
so I am more cautious about using the strong arm technique against China, and the reason I say that is because I think in even a 2v1, I think the U.S. take and allied nations take Iran and Russia with zero to no problem, barring the use of nuclear force. Um, China is a different beast because they have secured since I think it was Ronald Reagan that opened them up to the world economy. They have secured such a prevalent place in world economics that it's hard to imagine a world where you have totally won a war against China and everybody's not a loser. You know? Now these
Oh yeah.
Go ahead, sorry.
Oh no, I'm just agreeing. What were you about to say?
These tariffs, I think economic warfare is definitely preferable. Um,
When you say
and I
preferable,
just think they won't.
is when you say preferable is physical war an option for you that you would even remotely entertain?
Yeah, physical war is always an option, dude. All options are on the table.
With a nuclear power.
Yeah. I mean, so nobody wants to hit that button, and if they
With a
do
hold
hit the
on, with
button,
a
then it's mutual.
nuclear fucking power.
I'm not scared of going to war with Russia. Why would I be scared of going to war with China? The stakes are basically the same. If they launch a nuke, then the whole planet's getting the shaft. Like nobody, again,
All the
nobody
more
wins.
reason it should be off the table because of the potential downside, right?
Nah, I don't, I don't know. So,
What do you mean you don't know?
well,
What the
so
hell is that?
hang on. So, is American and Western hegemony worth risking all of it for? And my gut tells me yes. And that's really what's at stake here. Between Russia, Iran, and China, what's at risk is Western global hegemony. We've already basically lost Europe to the Islamic invasion for the third time in history. All of our allies are now looking to cut deals with China specifically because your tariff plan was rolled out so hysterically bad. And to make it even worse, and this to me this really is the worst part of it. You you back down almost immediately. Like, so sure, you got like 70 nations or whatever, and the EU coming to say, okay, look, let's go to zero tariffs, let's go to zero tariffs. But one, you didn't accept those deals when they were offered to you. Like, if it were me and I said, hey, I'm matching tariff for tariff, we're going to do this, and then they came back and said, okay, well, we want to go to zero. All right, let's go to zero. We'll count it as a win, free trade for everybody, yay! And then I would have slapped. 125% is not high enough on China. I would slap them with the most egregious level of tariffs that I could possibly sustain, um, and I would have stuck to it. Like, I'm not poking holes in it for rare earth minerals. I'm not poking holes in it for all this crap. I'm not poking holes in it for Apple. I'm not poking holes in it for anybody. Like, you get a 400% tariff from now until freaking doomsday, and everybody else we're going to be at zero tariffs. That's really, and
Right,
what
but
he's
that's
got now
not
is
what
just
he's doing, right? Right?
no, that's not what he's doing. He has chosen the hell of half measures. So on one side you have the status quo, which was not, super ideal, but it's the status quo. It's what everybody knows. On the other side is actually trying to resolve the problem. And what you've done is gone halfway in between them, and now you just have a hellscape. And for no reason, for no meaningful gain, for no it's just it is a utter waste of freaking time, and it infuriates me because I really think that the tariffs specifically on China and getting everyone else to zero tariffs also, but specifically on China, would have started moving the ball. Like, they are an export economy, they're a manufacturing economy, whether or not that's high tech or low tech, whatever. They depend on their ability to export. And if we start tariffing them and then got all these other allies, specifically like, the EU or, some of our Middle Eastern allies, we could probably even get India on board because India hates China and just get everybody to tariff the crap out of them. And it's like, we're going to tariff you back to the Stone Age. And obviously, I like not a, China's not going to take that laying down. But that's the nature of things. But like I said, instead we have got this egregious monster of crappy ideas from both extremes, and it infuriates me so much.
Yeah, no disagreements there. I think it's been a total disaster what Trump has done, and I am sympathetic to, or I do like the idea of isolating China, and even becoming less reliant on their cheap goods. They make so much for us. It's just it's not sustainable if we ever just decide to go to war with them, and which I think that it's a very possible thing that we do go to war with China somewhere in the near, relative near future. They're building all this dual use infrastructure. They're building up their shipbuilding capacity. They're building up so that they can project power across the world in the same way we do. So they're a true rival in every sense. So I'd love to, see their economy crippled, and I'd like to send them back to, you know, where they were before, so much Western investment. I would love that. Uh,
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's one of the fewer areas I think that, and we won't spend too much time on the previous administration, but I think they handled China policy extremely well. I mean, if you look at a graph of U.S. investment in manufacturing and U.S. manufacturing jobs, there's like a sharp spike in 2021 through now, and it's because of things like the CHIPS Act, the Science Act, all the stuff with the UAW, like Ford and GMC, like they're making more cars here, and then basically all of that got undone in a matter of less than 100 days. It is what it is, and he wants to undo all that because Biden did it, you know.
Mm.
Um,
well,
but
speaking of,
rather
well,
than just stamp your fucking name on it and count it as your win, which is what a smart politician would do, right? So like every chip that was passed by the Biden administration, he just throw a big old Trump sticker on it and bam, now it's a win. But instead, he's like, nope, let's just get rid of it.
That that for sure does baffle me. So I think you'd mentioned it before, Wyatt, but the trying to get rid of the Chips Act is the exact opposite of what you need to do. Like if we're going to economic war with China and we're getting all of these critical military components from them, we need to be able to do more of that at home. Because at some point, China's economy is going to be so crippled that they have no choice to either expand or die, and nobody goes quietly into that good night. Um, hopefully at that point, we've limited their expansive capability so much that it's not too much of a fight. But I'm not. I'd really rather not roll those dice, and I would rather have the ability to do all these things that we're currently doing in China, either in house or in some other allied nation. Um, and really, the only downside to that is cost is going to go up, but that's going to happen when you tariff China anyway. And honestly, like the world gets to be a greener place. So if you're a global warming guy or something, getting all of these industries out of China where they just freaking strip mine and pollute and all this other crap because they have no regulation on it, that's a win for you too. I'm just saying.